It's right up my street, my boulevard. It's right up my Strasse. Oh my God, it's garden right up there. Ah, it's right up my podcast.
Welcome to the first episode of Right Up My Podcast.
My name is Gwen Watson. I am a radio presenter and a voiceover artist.
And I'm Kate White, and I'm a journalist, producer and voice artist.
Oh my God.
I know, jack of all trades.
You're more than me.
Master of none.
This is Right Up My Podcast, where we talk to people about what is right up their Strasse.
This was born out of the fact that we're both fascinated by some of the things that people do in their spare time that they're really into, something that might be totally normal to them, but it just feels a bit crazy to us.
And originally we wanted to find out all about the weird shit that people get up to so we could try them ourselves. And then during this special, strange time of the last few months, I don't know about you, Kate, and I don't know about you, dear listener, but I've been feeling a little bit shit, and my focus has really turned to ways to make me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely, because all the things externally that I used to rely on to make me feel good were all put to a halt.
Yeah, pubs.
Yeah.
Restaurants, theatres, discos.
Yeah, gigs, concert venues, all these places, all these things.
So what we're going to do is talk to people who've already got this nailed and have got their own special thing that they do and love that makes them feel good. And we will try it out for you at the end of the episode. We'll come back and report how it's been for us. And hopefully, at the end of this episode, you will have something new that you can try out that will make you feel good too. Isn't that nice of us?
So kind of us.
All right, so for this very first episode, we spoke to Klana. Her name is Klana Ludwig. She is German, but she has spent a lot of time in Ibiza, which I think explains a lot. She is a transformation catalyst, a love and relationship coach, and a certified sexological bodyworker. Ooh.
Oh, hello, Klana. Now you've know Klana, don't you? You've met Klana before.
Yes, I've met her. We're on a freelance coaching group together, and I have had a session with her recently, which of course has been during lockdown, so it was via the power of Zoom. It was great. She talked me through. It was like a guided talking through touching, which I will be talking about a lot more at the end of this interview. She's also got a podcast, which we'll hear about later. Talking about love, connection, intimacy, self-care, the intricate, delicate relationship between mind, body and spirit, and how you can live orgasmically.
So this phrase, living orgasmically, caught Gwen and I's attention because, intriguing and alluring as it sounds, we do not know what this means.
But I want it right now.
So we started off our chat with Klana by asking her, what does it mean to live orgasmically?
It's not all about those physical orgasms that you might think it is.
Oh.
It's also, yes, but not only. If you are focused on that goal, nothing will work because you are so much under pressure. And this is something I'm teaching.
What I really enjoyed about our session, actually, Klana, is that the whole thing that we were doing together was about connecting, wasn't it? And connecting with your own body. And are you finding that people are less connected with their bodies these days?
Yeah, not everyone, but I used to be one of them. This is why I know what I'm talking about. So I was very much in my head and not connected to my body.
How do you know if you're not connected with your body?
Oh, when you are all over the place, maybe you are not really in your body. And the body helps us to be grounded, to be here, you know? And also when you are too much in your mind, it's the same.
Well, that's what I really feel at the moment, like with this global trauma that we're all experiencing, and kind of a lot of us are experiencing grief for our previous lives that we've really suddenly lost. And I felt, and I know a lot of people have felt this, just totally at sea.
Yeah, exactly. And what I feel is important is to acknowledge the situation you are in and the feelings you have in this very moment. Just acknowledge them. And when they are seen, they have a big chance to disappear and dissolve. But first is acknowledge them and then go through them, not pushing them away, but just, okay, allow the grief. And that doesn't mean go into it deeply and deeper and deeper and deeper so that you cannot come out of it. Just accept it.
What are the impacts if people are feeling disconnected from their bodies, thinking too much and etc.? What are the downsides to that kind of existence?
Usually you are not in the flow, as you say. So you often feel stuck, feeling unhappy, and also not satisfied with your life, with your partnerships, with your sexuality, with whatever is around you. And this is what I want to change. If people want to change it, I cannot do that. They change it by themselves. I can only assist them so that they have a more happier life, a life that fills them with contentment and joy.
That's the aim, isn't it?
Well, we were saying this before, that life does feel a little bit joyless, or that we've lost a lot of our joy due to the big changes that we're all going through.
Yeah, but these changes, they have a purpose, I would say. They are here, especially in this moment, so that we come back to ourselves, to really go into ourselves and not let us do so much in the outside, so that we learn that the outside is not so important, that we have, I think the right word is sovereignty. It's an inner freedom that you have that is independent from what happens outside.
That's really interesting. So actually we should use this as an opportunity to reconnect back with ourselves rather than always looking externally for gratification or
that's at least it's my way, and it works for me.
Because if we look outside of ourselves right now, we're surrounded by chaos.
Exactly.
So it's not going to help, is it?
Yeah.
Is there anything, particularly in the context of the time that we're living in, that we can all be doing more ourselves at home to try and ground ourselves at this time?
Yeah, there's a lot to do. what I always suggest, because it helped me so much at the time I started to learn to become a sexological bodyworker, was a 30-day process of pleasuring yourself.
This is what Klana has set me to do. I've managed about 2 days. I've really got to pull my finger out, literally or not literally, and do this 30 days. Tell us about the challenge, or tell us about the program, Klana.
It's really good if you would take yourself about 30 minutes a day, like a daily ritual where you pleasure yourself without the goal of the climax. You can have an orgasm, nothing against that if it comes, but that's not the goal. The intention is to please yourself in a sensual way, sexual way, or even not. It's about loving yourself, starting to enjoy yourself, to enjoy your body, your skin, your whatever. It's a lot about getting aware about what's happening in your body, what you are capable to do, what can change if you do things this way or that way. If you try to touch yourself in a light way or a little bit more firm, then use different body parts. Are there body parts that are more tinglish or bring you into arousal? The other body parts don't do anything for you in that concern. It's a quite common way to have that goal in mind. You want to climax, you want to release tension and feel better. And it's most of the time it's fast. And we've learned that from childhood on mostly, because we didn't want to be caught while doing that. There's shame on it often. And that's the pattern we take into our adult lives. And there's nothing bad about it. But what I want to bring to people is that there is way more you can experience. And you can only experience other things if you try other things. That's the case.
This is really key, what you were saying about that the object is not to climax. When you say spend 30 minutes touching yourself, 99.9% of people listening to this are going to be thinking of their genitals straight away. Whereas as we explored in our session, Klana, you've got your whole body to touch. And when you were telling me about that we need to also focus on the receiving of the touch, which is your fingertips and your hands, as well as the delivering the pleasure to wherever you are touching. And then you just got me to stroke my forearm and to stroke my other hand. And suddenly I was like, I'm sure I've never done this before in my life.
No.
And it actually is where I've just sat here with my eyes closed, stroking the other hand.
Yeah.
And it just felt so lovely. And there's something so comforting in it. Not only the arm that's being stroked, but the hand that's doing the stroking as well. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I love being stroked. And I remember my last boyfriend, I always used to say to him, please stroke my back. Like, there's nothing nicer, is there?
Lovely.
And then I suddenly realised I can be doing this to myself.
Yeah. Why don't we realise that? Why it doesn't occur to you, does it? At all?
And one of the things I think you were getting me to rub the back of my neck and the base of my skull and the top of my spine. And then I was pushing my fingers through my hair. And you know, like when you were at the hairdressers and the hairdresser's giving you a head massage, there's nothing nicer. And so running my fingers through my hair, and I was pulling my own hair. And that's when you set me the 30-day challenge. And that's what I've ended up doing sometimes, is like touching my hair and pulling and, rubbing my scalp. Yes, you're discovering parts of your body that feels nice, and you're making yourself feel nice. And it is an act of self-love, isn't it? Because you're giving yourself this comfort and this pleasure and this lovely sensation. What's going to be the outcome if you're doing this every day for 30 days? What difference will we see?
What happened to me is I really started to love my body, because I didn't love it before. My whole life, I thought I'm too tall, I'm too stiff, I'm not feminine at all, I'm too fat, which isn't really true if you look at pictures. But this is what we have in our minds. Sometimes it's not realistic at all, but that's what we think about ourselves. So that was very helpful for me. And the next thing what was helpful for me is I lost a lot of shame around sexuality, and not only about my body, but in general. And I learned how to touch myself in the genitals, and not only there, but in general, to get aroused. Which positions I like, what maybe using a toy, which toy works for me, which intensity of rubbing, which pressure, whatever. So I learned this, and I was able to communicate that with partners. I got what I want. And I was out of that idea that I lived until then, that my partner knows what he does,
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't know how should they know. If it's a man on the other side, they have a male body and not a woman body. Maybe they have an idea what to do because they have some experience with other women, but what they've done with other women was good for other women and doesn't necessarily be good for me.
Oh my
because
God,
we are so different. And what you, because you are also women, know is that what I like today, maybe I don't like tomorrow. So how should this poor guy know what they should do to satisfy us?
Ooh, that's nice. That's very nice. Oh, it's nice. Ooh, it's nice. It's a bit nice. Oh, that's not nice.
You were asking me about if I'm good at telling my partner what I want, and I guess to an extent, yes, but it's all goal-oriented. You're telling each other what you want in order to come. Taking time to stroke each other's backs or chests or arms or hair or all of that stuff would lead to much better connection between two people as well, surely.
Absolutely.
And in a strange way, there's a real intimacy in that. It's funny, isn't it? You go, if that almost feels more intimate than just going straight for the finish line, which is the expected route, isn't it? Whereas actually that exploring touch feels like a real intimate connection to share with someone.
Yeah, you can come into a much deeper connection.
Yeah. So is that what living orgasmically means?
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think living orgasmically, you do that automatically when you are in your power, when you are in the flow. Everything, most of the things go the way you want them to have. And, you know, things fall into your lap in every realm of your life. This is what I see under what I understand with living orgasmically.
Oh, you can't see, the listeners can't see this. Me and Kate have got such big smiles on our faces.
Yes.
That's such a wonderful way to live.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm getting glimpses of what my life was like before lockdown that feels so distant to me right now. I feel like I'm so far from living orgasmically that, yeah, this seems like a really great answer. After our session the other day, I really did think this could be life-changing.
Yeah, it is. For me, it was. Let's say it like that. Definitely. Yeah.
I think I might try this. 30 days, 30 minutes a day feels like quite a long stretch of time, but I guess something is better than nothing.
So Kate's got 2 kids and a job and a husband. Let's say 3 kids and a job. How does she...
I'm not going to lie to you, Klana.
It's a lot of work.
It's been a crazy couple of months.
That's a challenge, I would say. And obviously, you did a good job lately. Yeah. And it's a challenge to do that. It also was for me to do that challenge, the 30-day challenge. And this is why I am starting a program to help women, to give them support through those 30 days. So I'm calling it Ignite Your Feminine Confidence. And it's a 30-day kickstart program for more freedom and pleasure in your life.
So in that program, then, people are doing the 30 minutes a day of touch. And just to clarify, it's 25 minutes of touching yourself and then 5 minutes of just lying, isn't it? Lying down and letting it all soak into your body.
Yeah, and a lot of more information. So we have weekly calls and we are talking to each other about our challenges, what works, and have some teachings in there. I have some ideas what you can do. And
so if people listening to this would like to find out more about that, how would they find out more?
They find out more on my website, klana.us.
Do you know, one of the things that you said to me in our session, Klana, that really struck a chord was when you said it's all about self-love.
Yeah.
And you said, which starts when you walk past a mirror and you look at yourself and smile. And I just thought, oh my God, how often do I walk past a mirror and think, oh, I look fat, oh, I look old, oh, how I look awful in those clothes. And I'm just constantly throwing this negativity and imbibing this negativity into my soul. And how different would it be that when you catch a glimpse of yourself in a reflection, that you go, all right, yeah, give yourself a little smile, and you just send out a bit of love to yourself.
It's so strange the way we've got those behaviour patterns, isn't it? And I'm sure a lot of people are the same, because I feel if I too much kind of look at myself and go, hey, how you doing? Or hey, you're looking good today, I then immediately counteract that with a don't get big-headed, don't get too up on yourself, pride comes before a fall, you know, all those kind of knocking yourself back responses.
Yeah, nice. Those belief systems that they put on in us, you know, and this is bullshit. Yeah. We should appreciate ourselves and we should appreciate ourselves first. That's something that we learned. You don't praise yourself. What should that be? What I'm teaching people is acknowledge yourself. The best would be you do it at least once a day. You give yourself 10 acknowledgements for what you've done, and that doesn't necessarily need to be all big things.
I heard another great phrase the other day where somebody was saying that now more than ever, like, the past is done, the future we cannot plan for, and I think that's what everybody's kind of suffering from is that we cannot make any plans right now. The future is so uncertain. And so all we can do is be really present, and we've got to be where our feet are. That's a phrase I heard the other day for the first time. And I really feel that this is a good way to do that, isn't it? To really get present.
Absolutely. And I'm totally with these statements, Gwen. We only have that present moment and nothing else. The past is gone. So if we are sticking to the past, it's not working for us either. And the future, we don't know. So let's stay in the present moment and enjoy that present moment. I think suffering only starts when we are back in the past, when we think we've lost something, or when we are in the future and start to worry. So when I'm here now, I'm talking to you now, it's such a pleasure. I am really in a very good energy, and I hope so are you, because when I see your face, it looks like it. So why don't we don't care what happens in an hour or so, do we? We are just here.
What you said about how in the past we feel like we've lost something, we shouldn't be focusing on that. That's a really good point, because that's something that we've come back to so many times, that feeling that we've lost something, that sense of loss. And, you know, even my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, is feeling that from the schools being closed and so on. That sense of loss seems to be affecting so many different people. But actually, we just got to let that go, I suppose.
I mean, we can't fix it. And what Klana was saying earlier, we can only sit with it. We can't fight it. That's the other mistake that we make, isn't it? It's trying to fix those feelings of pain. It's like we've just got to observe them, let them be, accept them.
Absolutely. There is nothing to fix. It's all good as it is now, even if it's sometimes very uncomfortable or even painful.
Yeah, there's nothing to fix.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that tattooed on myself. I like that.
Let's both do that for our tattoo episode.
I've always filled my time. I've always been a busy person. And one thing that I found really difficult when all of lockdown happened was suddenly having no plans and having weekends, weekdays, everything just empty, effectively, of being able to plan. And it's definitely something that I have learnt how to deal with. But it really resonates with what you were saying about learning just to kind of ground yourself and be in the present moment more, rather than just constantly thinking about what the future and what's next.
Yeah, I totally see you. And you are definitely not the only one who experienced that or is still experiencing that. And I think this is one of the main things we humans need to learn, to be with ourselves and not to be distracted and entertained all the time from the outside.
Yeah, it's definitely a massive shift. And a lot of people have been saying the same thing, haven't they? That this is something that we've all actually needed, to just stop. Oh, let's talk about your podcast, Klana. So do you want to quickly give it a shout out?
So it's called Conversations with Klana. I'm talking with guests of different realms of life. We are talking about sexuality, of course, because this is one of my core things I'm doing. And we are talking about spirituality, relationships, about communication, and all those things that make our lives zizzle.
Love it. So there we go. And once again, Klana's podcast is Conversations with Klana, and you can find it at conversationswithklana.com.
Gwen, now that we've found out a bit more from Klana about what she actually does, I would love to hear more about the session that you had with her, because you talked about it a bit in our chat with Klana, but I want to know, nuts and bolts, what you actually did.
All right. So because I'd read her blurb that said like Sexological, Bodyworker and all this stuff, and she'd offered me this session, and I had no idea absolutely no idea what was going to happen in it. And she said, is there anything in particular you'd like to focus on? I was like, I don't know. And I think she mentioned something about sexual connection. And I said, I'm definitely feeling disconnected sexually and disconnected generally. She goes, okay, fine. And I said to her, do I have my clothes on or off? Like, I have no idea. She's like, just keep your clothes on. Entirely up to you, Gwen, if you want to whip them off. But anyway, so...
You pervert.
I know, right? Anything goes. So basically, and through some weird kind of blip that I was in West Wales with really shitty Wi-Fi, we ended up we were on like Skype or Zoom, but we didn't have the video, so it was just voices, which meant I could just be totally more relaxed. And so she started by asking me to get an object off my shelf.
Oh.
I know. And I have to be like, I was like, didn't know where this was going.
Yeah,
so
what are you going to expect me to do
I know.
with said object?
I was literally like, what am I going to be doing with this object?
Yeah.
And she's like, any object will do. It could be a bowl, it could be a book. I was like, okay, right, starting to relax a bit. I get a moisturiser bottle and she makes me sit there with my eyes closed, touching this moisturiser bottle. And at first I was like very functional, like she's like feel the shape, feel where there might be different bumps or lumps, feel where the label is, the lid. I was like, yep, okay, right, got it. And then she's like, okay, now slow it down. And I realised I was going really quickly.
Yeah.
And she's like, slow your fingers down and now feel where the bottle might have a different temperature, like where the liquid is it colder? And I was like, oh yeah, I can really feel all the differences and all the changes. And I was really slowing it down. And then she goes, and now don't think about the bottle, think about how it feels on your fingertips. I was like, oh. So then it became about how nice it felt on my fingertips, feeling all the different textures of the bottle.
So I guess we've got masses of nerve endings in our fingertips, haven't we? They're really sensitive parts of our body.
They're super sensitive. And I think really neglected. So I was touching this bottle and to within an inch of its life. So I was just delicately touching this bottle and really focusing on the pleasure that it was giving my fingertips. And then she had me like hold it between my knees so I could touch it with both hands because I was just holding it in one and touching it with the other. And then slowly what was happening then was she was getting me to like, or naturally I was finding I was touching my other hand with my other hand. Yeah. And so I could feel how nice it was to receive the touch in my hand, but also how nice it was to receive the touch in my fingers. And then, so we moved on from the bottle to me touching my arms. And she was again saying, just think of the different textures and the different temperatures. And does one part feel really nice and tickly and maybe another part doesn't feel anything? And like touching the inside of my elbows and the outside and my shoulders. And and then as I was saying, in our interview that I was doing my head and my scalp and everything. But what it really made me do was I just felt so more in touch with myself in that moment.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, it felt really lovely as well that I, especially with my hair, running my fingers through my hair. And there's something about meditation in it.
I was just going to say that. It sounds, when you describe it, really meditative.
Yeah.
And that kind of forcing yourself to stop and sit and focus. I can see how that would have been very calming.
Yeah, because it's something we never do. If I'm sitting down, I'm on my phone or I'm on my laptop and my phone, or my laptop, my phone and my iPad. Do you know what I mean? Like we never just
crazy.
Yeah. If I'm eating lunch, I'm also on my phone, or I'm always So to just sit there and just touch myself. And I know that some people are going to be saying this sounds really weird, but do not knock it until you have tried it, my friend.
Too right.
Because it's so comforting. And what she said about the 30 days is that as you progress, you introduce other things. So, yes, you're exploring your whole body. You can use other objects. So if you want to use sex toys, you can, or if you want to use things that would feel nice on your body, like different textures, like something soft and fluffy or feathers.
Yeah.
She's like different tempo, different fabrics, different textures. You can do it in the bath, in the shower. And she said to use all of your senses. So it might be that you find something that can help you dive further into the experience, like a scented candle or some lavender drops, or do you know what, whatever brings comfort or that you enjoy.
Yes.
It's all about bringing your mind back to touch whenever it wanders. So after 30 days you would be a lot more in touch with your body.
It's really interesting because someone that I know has been doing a lot of mindful practices that their therapist has recommended them to do. And part of that has involved spending time touching their thighs and their arms and almost grounding their mind in their body, reminding themselves that they're in their body and not being too flying out of their own mind, but actually being grounded in their body. And the touch has been really integral to that. And they've been doing it every day and it's helped so much.
I think you were telling me about this person. Weren't they having some kind of like anxiety episode?
Yeah, depression and anxiety, and had been recommended to see a therapist, which they've been seeing regularly on a weekly basis. And this was really core. And obviously there's different treatments that work better for different people. But for this person, this was really core to helping them through that. And actually now they do it every day, even when they're feeling completely fine. And it just keeps them centred and keeps that feeling of which Klana spoke about a lot, which was really fascinating, that feeling of being not affected by outside circumstances, by being centred within yourself, regardless of what craziness is going on around you.
Do you know what I'm going to admit? Which is not a great start to our very first podcast, but she did set me the 30-day challenge. And and I've only done about 2 days. So it's just I'm totally out of my routine. With everything that's going on in the world, I'm totally out of my routine. And I know that if I put aside that time in the morning, and if I wake up and don't get on my phone, and if I spent that time just touching myself, and it can lead to sensual touch, and it can whatever you want or feel or need in that moment. But it is, she was saying 25 minutes of touching and then 5 minutes of just letting it soak into your body. And when I'm on a good roll, I also do my journaling in the morning and my self-compassion exercises, my gratitudes. And she said what would be really good is to do this first. Yeah. And then she said in that 5 minutes where you're just resting and lying there, to just observe what comes up for you. Yeah. And she said, and then if you were to do your writing, like a lot of people do their morning pages or, all that stuff, you just do your splurge first thing in the morning, your 3 pages of A5. She's like, if you just do your writing after that and then just see what comes up and process it.
Be really interesting to actually do that and then come back and see how you feel after those 30 days.
Yeah.
I feel like I should do it. We spoke about this already when chatting with Klana, but 30 minutes feels like a really long time. But maybe you can warm up to it, start off with 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, then go up to 30. Or do you just have to go straight in?
Well, I think, like Klana was saying, it's a challenge. Yeah. And on her website, is it klana.us? She was saying that on there she's doing these 30-day challenges with people. Yeah. So she's offering tools and stuff to get them through. So there is support available to help you. But you know what? If you are a mother of 2 who's working full time and now homeschooling and et cetera, then whatever you can fit in, surely.
Yeah. I would like to try it though. I'm interested.
When you're living orgasmically, or when you're more connected, then you're basically more in your flow.
Yeah, and that feeling, we've all had it, where you do just feel like you're in the rhythm of life and it feels good.
Yeah. Which we really feel out of right now.
Yes.
So anything to help us get back to that.
Yeah.
It's surely got to be good. And so it's the end of our very first episode of Write Up My Podcast.
Yes, it is. Thank you for listening. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you heard.
And you can get in touch with us by emailing us at
writeupmypodcast@gmail.com.
Any feedback, or if you've got any ideas you want to share with us, then please do.
We'd like to say a big thank you to the rest of our podcasting team, Andy G and Andy T.
Otherwise known as Andrew Grimes on fantastic music, and Andy Turvey, a fantastic editor. Also, big shout out to Kat, our very patient content editor, and to the people who make us look good. Erica Francis George for our beautiful branding, and Colin Moody for our awesome photos. Thank you, lovely people. If all goes to plan, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with more ways to make you feel good. Bye-bye. Bye. Should I say bye again?
Bye.
I'll say bye, Kate.
Bye, Gwen.
Oh, that's terrible, isn't it?
Oh, jeez.
Tell me, did you like the podcast, Brian?
No!
Oh.
If, unlike Brian, you thought our podcast was really great, then don't hold back. Like, subscribe, and tell your mate. But if, like Brian, you thought our podcast wasn't fun, then just keep quiet. Don't feel the need to tell anyone. We'd love to hear from you if you've got some thoughts to share. Such rich and lovely views that all should be aware of. But I hope you liked our podcast and you thought it was really great. And if you did, like, subscribe, and tell your mate. 'Cause we don't need grumpy pants bringing everybody down. No, we don't need negative Nellies making people frown. So I hope you liked our podcast and you thought it was really great. And if you did, like, subscribe, and tell your mate.